All right. So tonight's topic is authenticity. Now, the reason I want to talk about this is I feel like this is a topic that has been pretty common among social media and a lot of people, I would say around the ages of 18 to maybe late 20s. And I want to start off by talking about what authenticity really means to me. I just like to think of it as it's who we are behind closed doors. Like, you know how there's some dudes where they're with their girlfriends and then the boys come through and the dude is acting like a complete prick. He's completely different than as if he was just hanging out with the boys just because his girlfriend's there. Or it could be vice versa. It doesn't even have to just be the boyfriend and the girlfriend. It could be the girlfriend with her homegirls. But what I'm trying to say is that guy or that girl is acting different in the presence of a special person or a specific group of people. And I think who you are behind closed doors, meaning by yourself, your interests, the things that make you feel happy, that's really who you are, you know? And I think nowadays it's super, super common to not be tapping into that side of you, just putting up a front, talking differently, acting differently, just almost being carbon copies of people that you see on social media, whether it's influencers, rappers, even political figures. The whole spectrum is pretty large. Now, I wanted to move on to a little story time about how I started finding my most authentic self, or at least I kind of started coming to an understanding of what authenticity really meant to me and how I tried to live up to that definition and just really make it an actual thing, make it sort of one of my morals or my codes, if you want to say. So I'd probably say this was a recent thing, maybe 1 to 2 years ago. I was really into self-development anywhere from 1 to even 3 years ago. I loved Alex Hormozy, just like I'm sure any dude in his early 20s would say. And the reason I liked Alex Hormozy was because he was just super blunt, just super black and white. And I think as a guy, our brains are naturally just wired that way. You know how some people say, well, women tend to be more emotional and men tend to be very logical. I think there's some truth to it. Just like a lot of other things in life, there is a huge, huge spectrum. But anyways, Hormozy was someone that I really looked up to at one point. And one of those reasons was because he brought up the idea that like death is real. And some of you guys probably watching this video and listening are like, dude, of course, we all die. Well, for me, obviously, we do, but I think what it actually means is what impacted me the most. And that means, at least in my head, that we only have one shot to do the things that we want to do. I mean, the average person lives to, I think, 73, 74 in the United States. So for me, it's like, shoot, I got 40 to 50 years left. I gotta make these years count. And over the last 1 to 2, even 3 years, one of the things that I started to change was how I acted. And I like to tell people, act like a kid. And when I mean act like a kid, I don't mean chew with your mouth open, shit wherever you go, wear diapers. No, I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is fall in love with the things that you enjoyed as a kid. Like, how many of you guys used to skate or surf or even rollerblade? Or you were into Dungeons and Dragons, hell, even World of Warcraft. And now you guys reach your early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, and it's not even something that crosses your mind. And every time you think back to those moments when you're playing with your boys or your homies, and you just are shot with dopamine. Like, I've been there too. And one thing that I've been trying to do is bring that dopamine back into my life and actually do the things that the younger version of myself was doing. So for me, I fell in love with learning about superheroes again. As you guys can tell by my channel's profile, I love Silver Surfer. I think he is super cool. I think how he's like a philosopher and a lone warrior or soldier is just shows the duality of man, where he's a philosopher but he's capable of insane power. Another thing that I did was I fell in love with moving my body around. I love going to the gym. I like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I've been an athlete my whole life, so continuing that athleticism and just trying to be active throughout my life is something that's very important to me. And then lastly, I saw things as experiences rather than focusing on the outcomes. Like, how many times, whether you get into a romantic relationship, you find a new friendship, or you just interact with someone new, or you start a new activity, you're thinking about, where is this going to lead? Where is this going to end? And it's very normal for us to think that way, but I think if we put things in the mind frame, if you will, of just focusing on the experience and just living in the moment, that's going to bring us so much more happiness. Because what happens is when you think about the outcomes, you just set up these expectations for yourself, and it honestly just messes up everything. So those are 3 ways that I kind of started finding my authentic self in the last couple of years. Another way was I put more thought into the things that I did. And I'm talking about being intentional with everything. Like, for example, my diet or my fashion. Like I said, I love going to the gym, so my diet is super important. And I'm a personal trainer. I have my own business. Like, these things are very important to me. But that translated to even my fashion. For example, I used to just put clothes on. I'm sure anyone that goes to the gym, you've seen those memes on TikTok where it's, if you got a good physique or you look like you lift and you just put on a plain tee, plain jeans, and some nice sneakers, you'll look good either way. And it's like, yeah, your physique is a good accessory. But I wanted to put more thought into my fashion, like accessorize and shit. And I just started putting more thought into everything that I was doing. I think a lot of people go through life just half-assing everything. But then I ask you, how can you find yourself if everything isn't done with intention and it's just done measly, not really with any effort? I honestly think intention is part of what allows us to be authentic, because it requires a process of thinking. Like, we think about the things that would actually make us happy. Instead of just throwing shit on, we put some thought into, no, you know what? I really like blue, but I haven't really been wearing blue because I saw this thing on social media that, blue isn't like masculine. So I'm just going to stick to black and white. It might not be the best example, but I hope you guys get the idea. Another topic that I wanted to kind of touch on was, we keep getting authenticity confused with being performative. You guys know those memes where it's the dude that reads like women's health books or like women's sex ed, and he like drinks matcha at 12 p.m. on Saturdays and wears all different types of shoulder bags? Like, that's an example of what people think when they think of the idea of being performative. And I understand where people are coming from, because it's like, as a dude, that's super specific, like, you got to be good in bed, I'm sure, but reading a women's health book in public and sipping on matcha every Saturday, it's just like, what are the intentions? You know what I mean? But anyways, and I understand, like I was mentioning, where people are coming from, but it just sucks because you could really just group a bunch of people that like the same thing. And then if you have enough people in the group, which for any activity or any hobby, there's going to be a significant amount of people, you just group them together and you can just slap on the label of being performative. But what people are forgetting is that those groups of people, they probably actually enjoy those things. Like, if you grouped a bunch of people together and you just slapped performative on that group of people and they just enjoyed underwater basket weaving or some shit, like, that, who is really being performative doing underwater basket weaving? But nowadays, social media, it's so easy to just slap on these labels on every single thing that everyone does. And I kind of got a problem with that, because you can't just slap on labels on everything. Because then if you slap labels on everything, what is there left to enjoy? On social media too, it's we care too much about what other people are doing. I think so much that we indirectly become more like each other by the day. Like we try to avoid so many of the same things that we end up doing the same thing instead of just going about our day participating in the activities or hobbies that we genuinely enjoy. And if it happens to be something very common, oh well. We became so, I would say, focused on being authentic and different, quote unquote, that we lost ourselves. And instead of just doing the things that we enjoy, we're very similar. I truly believe that if we got off social media for a month, like you listening right now, bro, I bet you would find activities or side quests or hobbies that you would find them organically and you wouldn't be influenced by outside media. Kind of reminds me of this one story I heard of Drake saying like the only music he listens to is the music that he produces with his lyrics, only his songs. And is it true? I mean, honestly, if we think of Drake, I wouldn't even be surprised. He looks like the type of guy to do that shit. But the idea is he's limiting outside influence. Now, does that mean you have to be some sort of hermit? Absolutely not. But let's keep it a buck 50. Are you going to be more easily influenced in person, just meeting a bunch of different people, actually interacting with them, or just absorbing thousands of scrolls of knowledge and people telling you, oh, this is performative, or this isn't your most authentic self, right? So to really just wrap all this up, I think we can find our most authentic selves really doing three things. Acting like kids again, with reason, of course. Limiting social media intake. And stop second guessing if what we're doing is performative. I truly believe we've got too many copies of each other out there. If you just did what you enjoyed, if you got off social media and you did what you enjoyed, you would already be different, because a lot of people are not doing that. And the whole irony of this thing is that now is technically the easiest time in history to be your most authentic self because of how connected everyone is. But we're just so deep in our thoughts and second guessing every single action that we take that we just become more and more similar. So bro, whatever you want to do, just do it. Just be your most authentic self, because we already got too many copies of each other out there.